Hello everybody, and welcome to Organian's Puzzle Box. In today's video, I wanted to go through Space Engine. I've recently got a hold of it and tried using it, and I find it to be incredible. So Space Engine, for all of you who don't know, is basically an engine that allows you to move, much like in a video game, to be able to explore the entire universe. Basically, this software boasts that it allows you to see pretty much every object in the known universe. You can fly to it, you can go very close to every planet's surface, you can actually land on most planets. Some of them will have geometry, some of them will not. Textures, there'll be some textures. There'll be, especially for the solar system, they'll be quite detailed. So you can actually land on the moon, the Earth, and so on. As you can see from behind me, this is a planet in Space Engine, and it's got like a ring full of asteroids. And actually, when you go up into space, you'll just see the rings like a texture, but when you actually get very close to the ring itself, you'll start to see the asteroid field, which is nuts. It's actually amazing how detailed this is. Now, one of the reasons why I wanted to give Space Engine a try is not because obviously you can't make anything in it apart from introducing your custom ships and just fly them around in space. But other than that, it's literally just an exploration game where you, like a planetarium, where you can go to certain landmarks and, as I said, just pretty much explore space in general. It's got real life sort of physics involved in how you approach navigating. It's got lens distorting, for example. Whenever you're near a black hole, you can actually increase or decrease the exposure to be able to see what's going on. Basically, it's a really cool tool for you to use to then come up with all sorts of reference ideas of what you want to make in Unreal Engine, especially if you're considering purchasing some of my projects and then being able to pretty much go within those objects, in those scenes in Unreal Engine, and just pretty much are able to create certain types of scenes with my projects, but then using a reference from Space Engine. As you can see right now, we're just sort of going through that and just approaching the planet's surface over here, and it's really cool what you can do overall in this engine. So I would definitely recommend it to anybody, but overall I just want to give you my idea and show you really what you can do in it. This is not going in depth, I'm just sort of scratching the surface here, but I would like you all to sort of like see what it's capable of, and I think it's really worth the price on Steam or whatever, or GOG, wherever you want to get it. But it's really cool, honestly. This is not a sponsored video or anything like that. It's just me telling you this is an incredible tool for you to be able to get reference and then be able to use it to build your own scenes in Unreal Engine. Now, if you want to support me, as I said, buy me a coffee. Consider purchasing one of my projects on Patreon, Gumroad, or ArtStation. Obviously, if you're a Patreon or a YouTube member, you can get access to all of my projects. But if you go on ArtStation or Gumroad, you can buy them individually or in bundles. So let's not delay it any further, and let's begin this sort of, overview of Space Engine. Okay, now we're in Space Engine. This is the menu. So we've got a few options in here, but if we click the planetarium, you'll be giving some options like a tutorial or load and save. I would press load if you already know the controls. If not, just use a tutorial. But right here, we've got some preloaded stuff that we can go into, So, for example, there's a few things that have been sort of, some areas that have been found by other people or, the game creators, and they allow you to load some of these scenes. Now, if let's say I want to load Earth civilization and press load, this will obviously put our camera pretty much, I believe, at this point that we're seeing in the in loading. Hopefully this will load soon. Generally, it's very instant, so I'm not really sure why it's why we're waiting right now. Come on. Okay, there we go. So this is quite nice. So we're seeing the city lights, and we've got the sun right over here and the atmosphere of Earth, which is really cool. So we can move with left click. You can look around, and with right click, you're basically rotating around the nearest object, I believe. And as you can see, this is very bright. So WSD moves you just like in game or in Unreal Engine. Now this is very bright, I think, by design, so they can get that really nice flashy effect that we saw earlier. So if I press this button here, so just leave it as an HDR, then we can see things a bit more normal. Okay, F goes downwards and R goes upwards. So you can really line yourself up a bit here. We can press this button in here to increase the exposure, and then we've got some zoom buttons over here. And then we're currently in free mode, so we can just move around everywhere in the scene. Now let's find something cool. Let's see what makes Space Engine really cool to look at, and why exactly I believe that this is something that everybody that's interested in space, and especially doing space projects in Unreal Engine, why they should get this engine and have a look and basically dissect it and understand how some of these things are done. So if you press the so we've got over here, sorry, I can't see it. Yeah, we've got the search button, so it says find objects. So basically you can type in here anything that you want to find. So I, for example, am going to type in the moon, and if I click it and press go to, the camera will then pan to the moon, which is quite nice. And then I can have a look. Scroll wheel upwards or downwards increases my speed. You can see the speed up here. So that pretty much updates. So right now I'm moving at very high speeds. And for some reason Cortana is trying to connect to something. I don't know why. Anyway, so as you can see, I've just crashed in the moon. So I'm just trying to escape it at the minute. But right now I'm on the moon's surface, and as you can see, there's geometry in here as well. So this is something that would really be nice for people to learn. So if you get very close, you can also start seeing the texture, which is just loading in. But if you go upwards, you can start seeing the geometry. So I'm just pressing S and backwards, and I'm just looking at the geometry around here. I'm pretty sure this is just using the texture height map to generate this geometry, and it's just an LOD really. It just swaps around. So when you get to the bottom, the text, or closer to here, the textures, a new LOD is being loaded where the texture is a lot more visible, and this is obviously repeating upon itself over and over again. So the entire planet surface just has this one texture. I don't believe that there's any other different texture across this planet apart from what we're seeing right here. So it's not, in that respect, it's quite basic. I think you can see these sort of squiggly patterns everywhere. I'm sure they just sort of, like I said, like just repeat themselves over and over again. So yeah, you can pretty much notice that. But I like the fact that it's got geometry, because when you go upwards, and this is something that people who want to have realistic looking planets would want to have a displacement map, because you see these shadows, you'll never get these nice shadows just by using a normal map. That's for certain, or a height map or normal map. So you'd want to use a height map to be able to displace this. Now, this doesn't really work with the current project that I've got, the Planet Creator. It won't work because the people at Epic decide that tessellation is not something that they should be adding further into Unreal Engine 5. So if I want to displace my planet, I will have to just use a cube map type of texture, like that would encompass a sphere, and then use that on a very subdivided sort of mesh to create a displaced planet. And I'm definitely going to be making a tutorial in the future on how to do that. But anyway, so this is quite interesting. You can see in here the moon, and it's very good looking because it's got that displacement. You've got the sun over there, and I really love this lens flare effect that it's got going on, and I definitely want to achieve a similar effect in Unreal Engine. I find this to be quite good looking. Now, if I actually select the sun, it will say in here, star, solar system, yellow dwarfs. That's what I've got selected. I can then press this button to go to it. So my camera will then go to the sun, and you can see it's got these effects. So you've got some, I believe, I'm not really sure. I think it's the well, yeah. So we've got the atmosphere, clouds, water, auroras. Okay, so it seems that nothing here really disables the sun sort of jet, or shine, or all this sort of effect that's going on around it. So I'm just gonna get closer, and you can see the sunspots. I mean, the attention to detail and commitment on this in this engine is amazing. So yeah, you've got sunspots, and you can get quite close to see them. And one very interesting thing is that you can start decreasing, the exposure to be able to see how the surface of the sun really looks like. Sorry, I think I've entered a bit too much. I'm just trying to pull myself out of the sun. This is the surface of the sun. This is what it looks like. Because the gravity is so massive, apparently this is why it will be like cell fractured like this, which is really an interesting sort of concept if you think about it. So yeah, now above the sun. These are the spots that you're seeing over here. Really nice. And now the further I move away, you'll be then starting to see that shine coming through again. But if I, reset the exposure to what it was, then you can properly see it. Okay, so that's really cool. And basically anything in the solar system you can go to and have a look. So if I search for Mars and then select it and go to it, then obviously my camera will pan all the way to Mars, and there it is, right? This is Mars. And I like, you've got this sort of, landscape over here, and you can obviously get very close to the planet's surface the moment it loads, and now you're on Mars, and this is what it looks like. Really cool. And the music also shifts with some of these areas that you're visiting, which is really cool. I really like this. Very beautifully done. And you can see the landscape and such great detail. Of course, the repeating pattern of the texture is not amazing, but this is really cool anyway. What they've achieved here. Okay, so now I am wondering how a black hole will look into this, because I've got my own black hole in Unreal Engine, and let's just see how similar mine is to this. So we're just gonna search for Sagittarius, which is obviously a massive star that's sort of collapsing. So let me just select it and then go to it. So now the camera pans all the way through, and there we go. Wow, that is beautiful. Look at that. Look at that beautiful. Look at that. Look at it right there, pretty much collapsing on itself. What we can do here, we can have a look at decreasing the compensation, the exposure compensations, just so we can get a better look at this awesome object. I really need to look at, this is some ray marching sort of technique over here. Volumetric clouds, you can see them ejecting. Now, if I press this accelerate time speed, we can start really seeing how this sort of animation plays out, and you can see the jets coming out on each end of this object, of the space object. So if I decrease the exposure even further, we can start seeing the core of it. So there it is. Let me just slow it down as well. So that's really beautiful, isn't it? And it's, as you can see, it's just a flat sort of a plane here, like a cylindrical shape, just much like the rings that I'm using. So this is really reminiscent of the black hole that I've got on my ArtStation and Gumroad. So it's literally the same in the way that it functions, as you can see. Let me just decrease it further. What I don't have is I don't have these jets coming through, which is really cool. So I'm gonna have to think of a way I can do that. You can then see how it's creating this sort of distortion lensing effect over here. I just wondered if it's actually. Let me just decrease my speed. I'm trying to see if it's causing any sort of lensing to the surroundings. So let me just get, yeah, you can see it over there. So you can actually see how it is distorting the surroundings right over there, which is really cool. I really like how that functions as well. This is a really beautiful effect, I must say. You can obviously line up some really cool shots with this. Let me just put it somewhere around here, and then just go to HDR mode. As you can see, it's very bright, so we're just gonna have to decrease it a little bit. Maybe something like that, so we can see something over there. So increasing the speed really makes it even cooler. So I really like how this sort of effect plays out. Obviously, it's very bright on this end, but then not so much over there, and that's, I think, it's because of the HDR effect. If you go on auto, as you can see, both of them are pretty bright. And then if you go on HDR like that, it's even more. It's really nice. There's a lot of controls over in the space engine, so you've got loads of things in here. You can deactivate like galaxies, you can deactivate the stars, clusters, and so on. If you want to have sort of like different type of shots of how you can. I mean, right now everything is very bright, as you can see. But you can line up your shots so that you can take some really nice screenshots, and you've got some options in here. In the camera, like for example, you can increase the compensation from here as well if you want to. But you can also, have a look at increasing the brightness of the stars or decreasing it, and all sorts of things. There's so many options in here to go through. You've got an ambient light option that works for planets. I'm just gonna reset everything to default for now, but it's really cool what you can achieve. Let's just try and search for something else. I'm going to search for pillars of creation. Those are in the Milky Way, and I'm just gonna press go to. By the way, obviously this space station contains pretty much everything. So I believe I am at the pillars of eternity. Of creation, sorry, but I cannot see them. Oh, I was inside of them, it seems. So you can see this is where they are. I am going to increase the brightness just so we can see them a bit better. Now, one thing to note in here is that if you rotate, if you go through the cloud, what you'll notice is, as I go through, you'll notice these planes rotating, and that's because I believe you could easily mimic this in Unreal Engine by just, you can see that how it's rotating. So you create a Niagara particle system with static particles that have an infinite life, and each of the particles pretty much generates a plane with a transparent or an alpha channel texture and a smoke type of texture on top, and then that creates this sort of effect. And this is why what will happen with Niagara particles as well. You'll see those planes rotating around with the cameras because they're always trying to face the camera, so you can't really see the effect in there. Now there's a little white main sequence star, a binary star right here. We can actually go to it. And if we try and get closer, let's just increase our speed and just get closer to it. Oh, we just passed through it. Oh, binary, yeah, exactly. So we've got two stars over here, and you can literally go all the way to the level that you can actually see it as well, which is really, really cool. And then there's another one over there, so they're really pretty much very close to each other. And this is really cool. So you've got this one, and you can see it how it's sort of moving in orbit as well, and I find that's really cool about Space Engine, that you can see the orbits. So everything has got its own. They've all got their own orbits as they would be in real life right now in space. So it's mad how much stuff has been coded in here. I believe there's a bit of an issue with the from the graphics. I think the VSync isn't properly working, so I'm just going to put that on. Hopefully that will fix some of the tearing that I'm seeing. Okay, really beautiful lens flares. I really like this effect. Okay, what else can we sort of see? So again, the search button is really important, but one other thing that you can do is also bring in a spaceship in here. So if you click the spacecraft manager, I believe, oh look, we've got some ships, so we can go to this ship over here, which is very close to the moon. Let me just try. I believe if I click this button, switch to simulator, it says. Okay. Oh, okay. Okay, for some reason there was no spaceship. I'm gonna have to build one, so I'm just gonna click the build button, select Space Engine, Skylone. I'm just gonna press build, and as you can see, a ship has now been created, and I can take control of it. So if I switch over to to this. Sorry, for some reason I'm not in control of it. Right, I'm in control of it now, so I can press the scroll wheel upwards to basically fly the ship, and as you can see, I can rotate it. I can also look around by right-clicking, and I can look around the ship. For some reason, I'm losing performance, but I'm not really sure why. Anyway, so I'm just flying in this direction. If you left click, this will move the ship around. You can see those. You can see how it's moving everything around. You can also zoom around, so you can see how the jets sort of are trying to reposition your ship. And then if I press forward, I'm obviously going to thrust forward, but I'm still rotating around in orbit, which I'm just going to turn the flight assist on, so it sort of helps me to properly fly the ship. So I'm now flying forward. This is a bit awkward to control. I'm not really good at flying the ship right now. I can, however, select the target. So let's just press this button, hold altitude on. I'm not really sure what this means. Anti-radial. Yeah, so I've not really played around with these buttons as of yet. It's a bit difficult for me. But I can select. You know, I should be able to select anything. I'm not really sure why it's not allowing me. Let me just switch over to, is this the mode? Yeah, so I can select that, for example. But if I press go to object right now, it's just take my camera there, which is a bit not what I wanted. But it's fine. I mean, I've still got to learn how to use this ship. So I'm in free mode right now. This is really nice here. So some of the things that you can do, for example, select this nebula. Over here, it's called the Nebula, the Lagoon. You can see it's got stars inside of it, so you can have a look at those. I wonder if these are made in the same way as previously. It doesn't look like they're made in the same way. I don't see any rotation of the planes as I move around. So there's definitely more different techniques being used to generate different effects, which is quite interesting. I like the fact that when you move around, you can see every one of these little planets, so you can select them, go to it, and then just see what it's all about. You know, get really close to it. Oh, I've actually entered through it, so let me just try and get close enough. Okay, still going too fast. Still going too fast. I'm just really trying to get close. It's very small, and I'm obviously traveling at very, very high speeds. Okay, there we go. So you can see that, and it's got some other planets around it. So if I try to get there. No, I think I've selected something else now. Yeah, I think I've lost him. Damn it. Anyway, so you can select so many different things and just go to them and just see. It's all about exploration. Like, I don't think there's any end really to how much you can explore. As you can see here, we've got the Large Magellanic Cloud, which is, I believe it's like a. Yeah, it's got some. You see that? It's got some volume to it as well, which is really cool. But then it sort of loses a bit its quality as you get closer to it. I guess it's because some of these areas are so far out there. Yeah. Okay. Well, this is really cool. So you can get into all of these and then see all of its, all these intricacies. To create something like this in Unreal Engine, I would definitely be using Niagara for definite. And I'm probably going to be toying around with creating a blueprint that generates things like this. Pretty much on the fly with different sort of parameters, which would be really cool. Now, some really, really cool things that you can also do in Space Engine, which I am looking at doing in my Unreal Engine projects. You've got this button here where it says Solar System Chart, and if you are, let's say, you're now looking at Earth, So right now I'm looking up. Well, unfortunately, I've clicked something else. So let me just select Earth and then press this button over here, and then this will show us how how these things are aligned. So you've got the Sun, and then you've got Mercury, Venus, and you've got Earth, and its moons, Mars, Phobos, and Deimos, Ceres. And then here comes Jupiter with all of its moons. So everything is so nicely sort of stacked. And then you can select the planet and then close this, and you've got the planet already selected, so you pretty much can press the button to go to it. So now we're traveling to Saturn, and as you can see, it's beautiful. It's got the rings, and this is something that you can get in my projects in Unreal Engine. And the ring is pretty much a texture, nothing else, but I think overall it's a very detailed ring. Like, you can do some really cool renders with this. And then obviously this planet of Saturn, you won't really be able to see much on it, but you can go on the planet and then just get some really cool shots. Some other things to note is that in the spacecraft manager, you can actually build your own spaceships. So you can add new packs of spaceships. You're just gonna have to look at a tutorial on how to do that, but I'm pretty sure it's quite simple. So there's a lot of there's a lot of things in here, but you've got the locations button, which pretty much allows you to have be able to move there. So I've just selected that, and I can pretty much jump to it. So you know what I mean? I'm just literally going to the stellar nursery right now, which is this is it right here. Okay. Again, because the volumetrics are this is a volumetric one, so because it's very intensive, my FPS does drop when I fly into it a bit, just because this is using a ray marching technique. So this is something else that I want to do in Unreal Engine. I'm working on volumetrics right now with ray marching techniques to achieve such effects. I've only got my static skyboxes at the minute, but I do want to create something like this as well. So then again, you can select other locations where there's some landmarks to be seen in space, and you can create your own, obviously. But for example, I think we've seen that one already. Look, the Poehi, the first black hole imagined. So we can actually select that, and then again go to it. So this is it really, and we can decrease the exposure a bit, so we can actually see it, and that's where it is, right there. Let me just decrease it a bit more. Obviously, it looks like the other black hole, but without the jets coming out, and I can accelerate, I believe. Will this move? Oh, it doesn't seem to have any movement into it, which is a bit of a bummer, but it is what it is. Let me just go to the locations again, and I believe this barren desert seems to be nice, so let's select that and go to it. Okay, let's just decrease the speed, and you can see we've got a different kind of sun effect over here, a star effect. So let's just increase that speed. Really like how that looks. It's really cool. Let's go to normal speed and then just approach the planet. Okay, as you see, the moment you land on the planet, it starts to actually orbit it properly. So yeah, this landscape looks a lot better. I like what the oh, see, so it's got a bit of more texture to it. So I like what the engine has done here with generating a nice looking planet. I don't know if this was procedurally generated through and through, or is it more like somebody worked on it to make it look better. But it does feel like it's a bit more deliberate than other things. Let's just select this one as well. I'm really curious to go there as well. So, okay, this is a nice moon, cool looking moon. Let's just get to it. Looks to have quite a bit of landscape, sort of. Yeah. So yeah, it's got quite a bit of detail on it. So I think this moon in particular looks a bit better from up here. It's definitely a bit too overexposed, so let's just decrease that a little bit. And look, you've got that stellar type of nursery over there as well, which is really cool. Let me just rotate a bit with Q and E on the keyboard. This looks really nice. It looks more like something that I would make in 2D rather than in 3D, but still very, very cool as well. Yeah, it's a really cool software to explore and just come up with ideas. Look at the pillars of creation over here, but you do have to, unfortunately, this landmark sort of thing, it doesn't actually load these to be seen okay. So you would actually have to go in here in the planetarium, load, and then find, you know, these landmarks, like for example the pillars of creation. You do want to load that. So if you actually load it, it will take you to that position so you can see them better. Well, I think we're just gonna have to expose it a bit. Yeah, it's a bit weird that it doesn't look like in the image, but it looks really cool nonetheless. If I go into planetarium, load again, one of the biggest star known. So that's pretty cool. So if I increase the time, you can see how it's burning. It's a really cool effect. You can see now you can also reverse time. That's really cool. Just so you can see what happens if you go backwards. Oh, look at that! It actually shows what will happen with it, or does it actually change it in that way? So no, it just sort of spins a lot, but it doesn't. Yeah, it's really cool anyway. I really like it. Yeah. So that's pretty much Space Engine and what it can do. I can't wait to further explore this and find things that you know, that are out there, and pretty much get myself as much sort of reference from here as possible, and just create some of my own versions in Unreal Engine and then share it with you guys, because I think this is invaluable. So if you enjoyed watching the video, please consider supporting me on YouTube by liking, commenting, and subscribing. And if you want to get my projects, feel free to go on Patreon, Gumroad, or ArtStation. Other than that, I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching. Bye.